people really are pushed into the market, possibly because we have a huge number of millennials coming into the market that maybe weren't ready to buy 5 years ago, ready to buy now, but they have a fear of missing out. If I wait too long, I won't be able to buy a house in 5 years because it's just going to be too expensive. And they might want to get into the market now. Are they ready? I don't know. Are these buyers ready? I don't know. But are they forced into that market because of fear of missing out? What do you think?
I think that's a good point with the millennials and the cash buyers. So we have a huge amount of cash buyers that come from California and things like that. That eventually is going to run out. The capital, all the investments that are coming in. Mm-hmm. So I think the part of the slowdown that we're going to see is when those cash buyers finally demand slows down. They buy all the inventory that's available, and the millennials come on board with the smaller reserves. They don't have as much savings, and they can utilize financing, lower down payments. And those millennials are going to come in the market after the cash buyers start to slow down.
Right, because typically those millennials were renters who now are realizing they want to build their equity, they want to build their capital assets.
But I think a lot of people think, well, Vegas is just all about casinos and they all think about hospitality. But I really feel that Vegas is really starting to offer just everything. I mean, it has for a while, but you look at the outskirts, housing, you look at all the amenities, everything that's going on, they just keep going outwards. How far, I mean, I don't see it stopping for new homes. What's going on with the new home world? Like, you guys know that there's a waiting list. Like, is there people that, like, what builders are most desired? Let's just put it that way. And which ones have the most waiting list, right? Because
Toll Brothers.
Yeah.
Toll Brothers.
Toll Brothers?
Toll Brothers.
Yeah.
Even the high-end Blue Heron, custom builders.
It's gorgeous. They have
It's
some
gorgeous.
houses.
Yeah, we're seeing the demand in all different price ranges. So I was talking about this earlier. We have a client that's in the $3 to $4 million range, and there's a brand new subdivision, Obsidian Blue Heron.
Oh, right. I've been there and it's so nice.
Yeah, right in Roman Hills, right, double guard gated community. And even in that price range, the demand is still high. So we had, I believe they opened the subdivision with 35 lots. There's only 5 lots left in that subdivision.
Like that.
We always get Summerlin, number 1, Henderson, Green Valley, all different the subdivisions within Henderson. I think Inspirada is being overlooked. That's a huge community that's coming on board, and they already have a Station Casino Resort that's been purchased and planned out to be developed right there on the side of Inspirada. So that's going to be a master plan community that has its own. It's going to be kind of like downtown Summerlin.
Yeah.
All of West Henderson. So you're talking about from Inspirada all the way to the M Resort, going to the 15 where you go down to California. That's all considered West Henderson. And it's going to be a master plan community that's going to be huge.
I live
You know
there
what I
and
think
it's
it's going to
amazing.
be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird, though, because you look at the average square foot, price per square foot, and then you look at Las Vegas. Las Vegas is, I believe it was like $218, something like that, across, not in one location, across Las Vegas. And then you look at, I looked at a couple of zip codes. So I looked at one in Henderson. Henderson overall is like $242 a square foot.
Right.
Right? So you see that $20 difference. Then you get to Summerlin.
280, 290.
I've seen it up to 318 to 320.
Yeah.
89135, 89134,
And they're old. The houses.
318,
89134.
and 89135. $318 a square foot.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's such a premium in Summerlin. Is it that much different, right? I mean, everybody always says, I just had somebody today, our client called me and say, hey, where's the best place to buy? And it's like, well, it's always starting off Summerlin, Henderson. I always say outskirts, North Las Vegas. Then you go to like places like, what is it, up here towards
Southwest, Mountain's Edge.
but also
Southern Highlands.
Southern
Oh, I
Highlands.
love Southern Highlands.
What's up near the Raiders, not the stadium, but where they work out at?
That's
Inspirada.
Inspirada.
Yeah.
Everybody always brings up Inspirada. They must market the heck out of Inspirada because
Well, also price per square foot is a little bit lower than Summerlin.
you get more bang for your buck there.
You get more bang for your buck, but it's also a similar situation where they're building, just like downtown Summerlin just got built. You get all of Inspirada's being built up right now. There's so much potential. They're building. They have plans for all these restaurants, all this like. It's going to be like the next downtown Summerlin. And so people want to get in there before it's too expensive, before they can't afford it.
So we all know that I feel that the market's not going to crash. I don't think the moratorium is not going to lead to the market crashing. A lot of speculation on that. I think the data supports a lot of different factors. But I want to ask you a question. You guys are real estate agents, right? And everybody out there, well, not you. So, and not you.
He's like, no.
You're a financial planner, but I'm going to actually ask you guys a couple of questions too. But I want to ask you this question: is a lot of people think that because you're a realtor, you're being pushed into the market, saying, "Oh, if they ask you a question, oh, now's the best time to buy." Is there ever a point where there's not a good time to buy, or do you ever push back and say, "You know what? It's just not right for you"? And hey, you know what? You don't, because I think a lot of people think you're in sales, and it's all about that dollar. It's all about pushing that money and pushing like getting that production. But do you really look out for the client, number one?
Yeah.
I mean, you do, but let's just be honest. Like, is there a point where you guys look at it and go, you know what? Like, what are your thoughts? Should you buy or shouldn't you? You know what I mean? Like,
I can just say, I think we have integrity, David and I, and like the rest of our team. We're not going to tell someone who can't afford something to go for something they can't afford. And it's up to the client. You have to be comfortable with what you're offering. If you know you can swing it, like just me, an example, like I'm going through this, so I can relate 100% to what my clients are going through.
you can relate to what?
If I can swing it, if I can afford to come out of pocket a certain amount to get this home,
Yeah.
then do it. But I'm not going to tell you if you can't to do it,
I
because
think-
I don't
yeah.
want you to be in a financial bind. I don't want to screw my
Absolutely.
clients over. I don't want to, we're not going to do that to people. And
It's not.
so-
I don't know if it's about screwing them over. I think it's more about, are you pushing them? Like you look. I think a lot of realtors look at it, including lenders, including everybody. They're looking at it as a sale, and I think what people want is that, especially people with data and information, and younger generations, they want you to give the facts. They
Yeah.
want you to say, "Hey, be upfront with me. Be real." There's some cases where you don't have people. Like I always say, this is not a bias show to say go buy. Everybody's not in a place to buy. But do you actually, like when you go through the process, do people actually say, you know what, give me your take on should I buy or should I not? Do they really ask your opinion? Or is it when they show up to see you, they've already made their decision? Because what do you think, David?
Yeah, no, technically, I tell people not to buy all the time, based case by case.
Yeah.
So, for example, the reason I say that is because if somebody's going into a transaction and then it doesn't appraise and they're $30,000 to $40,000 difference, and they only have that exact amount in their savings, I tell them, you know what, this is probably isn't the property for you. We can continue to keep searching. Even though they do have the reserves, they're going to be tapped out, they're maxed out in how much they're going to invest into the property, and they might be willing to do that. I would be realistically in telling them there are other properties out there that might not have such a huge gap in the appraisal waiver that we can go after. So there are certain circumstances where that happens.
I think if you have to prove to somebody, like first off, somebody's not going to seek you out unless they're ready. Usually, right? Usually unless they're ready to buy. But if they seek you out and you're trying to buy a home, maybe there's a point where I think it's a judgment call to say, because I don't think anybody's gonna be able to sleep at night. Like if I'm a realtor and I'm out showing houses and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna push this person into buying a house. Even if they did close on a house, I don't think anybody could like live with, like, especially people I know, my sphere. I don't think anybody would want to do that. So it's got to be up to you. I think obviously is the timing right, but some of these challenges, I think, because they're not getting these offers accepted right away, or there's multiple offers, it is pushing people out of the market. I mean, it is pushing people on the sidelines going, this is too hard. Do I want to deal with this, especially if I got to move to another state, right? Is that what you feel? That's what you're seeing? Or is it just, hey, you never have that issue?
I'm seeing a lot of people on the fence of, breaking past their comfortability. Are they willing
That's the thing.
to
Right.
go through with it and afford it, or are they able to? And they have to come to that realization themselves. So it's us as an advisor. We're realtors. We're here to provide you with the facts. We're provide you with the information that we have, and then leave it up to you to make that decision. We can't tell you go for it, or we can't tell you no, you should. I mean, we can give our professional opinion, but we can't force someone to make a decision.
No, I think it's not for. I agree. I mean, I don't think you're forcing them, but I think it's more like if you're saying, "Hey, I need your honest opinion because you're in the market, you're in the trenches, you see it all day." Would you advise somebody at the possibility of a crash? Right? Would you advise somebody that is it really worth it to go above price on a home? I think it's not. I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's good to ever go above price, even if it's a primary residence, because I'm looking at it as going, well, if I can rent, but yet I'm going above, how long is it going to take? Even if you appreciate. Now, that's case by case, but my opinion is, why would I want to go above price? Why would I want to overpay?
I think there's a couple different factors with the primary. There's, like you said, sometimes there's family that lives in the area. So that comes with the price. If you want to live in a close subdivision to your family, you're gonna have to pay a premium for that. That's a personal thing that you're gonna pay for to have that, and it's case by case for everybody else. So if they're willing to pay the money to have that access to, whether it's close to work, close to family, kids are gonna go to school in this
The
area,
unicorn of a home that you want.
backyard is huge, has a pool, things like that, you're gonna have to pay a premium because it's part of your personal life. It's part of the asset that you're investing in your personal life.
Just I look at it and go, you know what, David? Like if I came to you and say, you know what, David, I don't know if this is the right market, and would you advise me to actually overpay for a house in this market? Is it a financially wise decision? And what do you see? Why would I benefit from that?
So I think there's two factors that you have to look at: is the equity position that you're buying the property in, and also the cap rate. So, for example, if you buy the property and it has a lot of equity in the house, and you're considering that the market might crash, like you're advising your client, well, what if there's a downturn? What if the values go down? That's when you look at the cap rates. So if your cap rates are high and the value does come down, for example, we do have somewhat of a downturn or a recession or a crash, and your home value does come down 30%, and your equity is now underwater, or the 20% down payment that you put in, now you're even, you still have the cap rate to fall back on as a backup, just in case. So if your value isn't there anymore, you can rent the property, you can still cash flow, your family's still there, you have other options like refinancing the mortgage and taking off either PMI or reducing the interest rates. So there's a couple different options that you have to advise your client going into the investment. They think realtors are like kind of like used car salesmen. We're just pitching
They
houses.
really do, man.
And they don't see the emotional side of the process. There's a lot of emotion, family involved that we have to deal with.
I'll tell you right now.
It's a
Especially
huge
the
emotional
Hispanic.
investment that the client's making. So we're not
Literally on the verge of tears right now. So-
exactly.
Do you think-
We're not just advising the client on a financial investment. We're also advising them on their emotional, their family aspects of behind the property. So that's, I think, half of the process.
Do you think that they get this, realtors get this, I guess you want to call it stigma, if you want to call it, right, of being a used car salesman because of what happened before? Like, is that a contributing factor of why people have, like, sometimes they have an arm's length to a realtor because
It could be the mortgage lenders, though.
Well, let me explain.
Oh.
Yeah.
100% correct.
That's what was behind them, right?
Well, so let's talk about that, because I think a lot of times with lenders and realtors, they kind of go hand in hand.
Right.
And
They
you
have
look
to.
at a lender, and we're going to go back to what you do because I know you're in the nightlife industry. I think a lender is more like a bartender, right? We're giving a drink that we're serving somebody, but we don't come up with the drink. A CEO or a bank does. So we're giving this opportunity. Now, there is ethics involved, and there's things that go on with that, right? But the same with a realtor. A realtor has a certain amount of ethics too, because when you're emotionally involved, just like you are in buying a home, now it's like a decision, like, is it, you don't want to be that person that's trying to convince them. You want them to be supportive, right? You
We
want them
facilitate.
to empathize.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's where it comes in, is realtors and lenders, probably because of the crash, and they were the ones selling and doing all the work, they probably think of it as like, dude, it's not a hard industry to be in. I think it's one of the hardest industries. You're self-employed.
Right.
You don't have a lot of opportunity when you start. You got to really make, chicken soup out of chicken, you know what, right? And so that's it, right? I mean, you just don't have a lot of opportunity. I think it's a hard thing to deal with. But, we're not, I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, you think there's a stigma out there that realtors,
I
they're
think-
used car salesmen.
I think at one point, there was everybody who was a realtor or a mortgage broker.
There
or
is now.
Well, back in 2006 and 2007, I remember sitting in this room, and this guy comes in. He's a bus driver for the school district,
Right.
And he was talking to his friend. And he says, "Oh yeah, I do mortgages now. Look, I got this fancy calculator, and it'll calculate
Right.
your payment." And I'm just thinking, the guy's a bus driver. I mean, not that he can't do this, but you're a part-time mortgage broker now.
Let me ask you this though: is it because it was an easy way to make money? I'm not saying it's an easy way now. It's really hard.
It's
But
much
there's-
harder now, but
there's a
anybody
blend.
could do it back then.
Right. Is that why though? They think that anybody could do it and really can be successful at it.
Well, I think there was a lot of problem with ethics and stuff like that. Now it's a lot harder to be a mortgage broker, isn't it?
It's a lot harder, and that's why when we talked
I mean,
about, you look at the crash.
licensing and
Yeah.
all these things have changed since then.
Yeah.
And so I think there are a lot of people out there who just said, "Oh yeah, buy the house, whatever it costs. It doesn't matter because you'll always be able to refinance it later on."
Thank you for watching an episode of the French Workbench podcast. If you want to tune into past episodes, please subscribe to my channel now. Also, if you want to look at our audio only options, we do have iTunes and SoundCloud.